My wife hired a coworker to spy on me at work, who joked she'd bake people into a pies if they got close. The truth came out and ruined everything. Plus one update. I-31M found out my wife, 30F, has been getting a coworker, 29F, to spy on me at work. We have been married for 5 years and together for 8. Not really great at writing, so apologies in advance. I'll try to include as much info as I think is relevant, but please feel free to ask me for more in the comments if I wasn't clear about something. My wife has been jealous of a coworker at my job for some time now. Her name is Heather and she's in her early 20s, tall, pretty. Just observations as I have a pair of eyes. Heather is nice, but I don't go out of my way to talk to her. We worked together on a project about 8 months ago, which is when this seems to have started. Heather, 3 other coworkers, and I were assigned to this project, and so for a good month we spent much time together at work. My wife saw her one day when we were all coming out, and she was picking me up to go to dinner at my parents'. She immediately asked who she was and if she worked at my job. I told her she was new and was put on our project. For the entire duration of the project, my wife was in a bad mood almost every day and would take every opportunity to tear Heather down, saying she was lanky or her nose was crooked or whatever. She is insecure about her height because she's 5'4" and not a 6-foot-tall glamazon. I love my wife's height and her petite figure and tell her this every day. She is extremely gorgeous and turns heads whenever we walk downtown. But once she saw Heather was tall and not ugly, she was convinced I thought she was hot. I kept telling her she was just a colleague and that I had no interest in her. Regardless, she would greet her coldly or not at all if she saw my colleagues. Our home and jobs are located downtown, so we usually walk to meet up with each other after work. My wife would start dressing up a lot more than usual when she'd come meet me and make a big show of jumping on me and stuff. She works at a very nice bakery and usually brings leftovers from work for us or people at my job. She always gave things out to everyone except Heather. Eventually, Heather picked up on the hostility and approached me to ask about why my wife was acting that way. I simply told her I didn't know. Maybe because she didn't know her as long as the other colleagues, she was distant. She seemed to accept that but would no longer leave at the same time as everyone else and would either go early or hang back. Brian, another coworker, approached me on Friday and asked to talk to me privately. He told me he had been at lunch with Kate, the coworker in question, and she had gone to pay for the food. She left her phone on the table. It lit up with a text and he saw it was from Valerie, my wife's name. The text basically said, "Did you see him talking to her today? What did he say? Then, do you think Heather is going to stay at that job long?" When Kate came back to the table, he asked her if that was Valerie, as in my wife. She got a deer in headlights look and said, "Oh yay, we text sometimes, we're friends." He said he thought it was weird because she put her phone in her purse without even checking the messages he had asked about and wanted to go. I went home and I snooped on my wife's phone. I know it was wrong, but I had a feeling that if I asked her, she would deny it or become defensive and not show me the phone. There were weeks worth of texts that basically were little reports on what went on at work. If Heather talked to me, what we talked about, did she hug me goodbye? Did she touch me at all? Did I laugh at her jokes? Did the guys think she was hot? Did I join in with them? Did I look like I was flirting? Kate was also apparently talking of Valerie at work to Heather. She made sure to mention often we were married, how great Valerie was, how long we'd been together. I even read one that said, "I told her Val works in a bakery. I bet if anyone tried to steal her husband, she'd just chop them up and bake them into a pie, haha," which was pretty fucking creepy. A lot of things started coming together then. Heather was much more distant lately. She seemed hesitant to say bye at the end of the day. We used to talk casually like everyone else at work, but now she would just say hi and bye, mostly. I've been sitting on this information all weekend. Today at work, I could hardly look at Heather for shame of it, and I couldn't look at Kate for my disgust. I haven't been able to approach my wife about this because I just don't know how or what to say. I feel frustrated and very much weirded out. I feel gross too, like I've had my every move watched without knowing it, and as if just talking to a coworker is doing something wrong. I haven't talked to anyone else about this, not even Brian, who first mentioned it. I don't know what to do from here. I don't even know what this means for our relationship. It feels like something big has changed because I haven't been able to look at her the same way, and all my interactions with her since Friday have been kind of forced and faked. I need to talk to her and figure out what to do. Any advice would be appreciated. I feel very lost right now. TLDR, my wife has felt insecure about another coworker because they are tall and attractive. She has been texting with another coworker of mine who gives her reports on my interactions with the coworker my wife is jealous over. I feel betrayed and a bit sick thinking of it. I don't know what this means for us or how to proceed. Relevant comments. This is couples counseling time. Hardcore. She, your wife, has totally broken your trust and is treating you like a criminal. She's being mean, disrespectful, sneaky, and just an all-around jerk. Kate should also be seriously ashamed of herself. I don't know, man. Were it me, I'd talk to my wife, insist on counseling, but if she refuses to go or causes a huge stink, I'd rethink the marriage. I might even report Kate to HR for unprofessional conduct and creating a hostile work environment. OOP. Going to bring up counseling today when I get home from work and talk to her about this. Your wife's insecurity could cost you your job. You want to be glad Heather doesn't know about the spying, yet poor H already is having to sneak around her own workplace to humor your wife. Couples counseling for you and wife, no excuses. If she says no, then your marriage has no future outside of a divorce court. Normally, I'd say you need to apologize to H for what has happened, but here I think it will merely confirm it is really happening and could again threaten your job. But how you will be able to continue to work with Kate or Heather, wow, that'll be hard. TBH, you need to consider looking for a new job, and perhaps wife. OOP, I was worried about this too, but I don't know exactly how it would play out so that I'd lose my job. Can you give me an example so when I talk to my wife I bring this up? I thought about it, but I don't know how the boss could fault me personally for something my wife, an external source, and another coworker did. But please let me know. Would be great to make her see what this could literally cost us. Has your wife been irrationally jealous before? Did something happen in your relationship to make her lose all trust for you? I guess those things don't really matter. You guys need couples counseling regardless, but I'm curious as to where this behavior is coming from. I'm sorry this is making work so uncomfortable for you, and especially for Heather, who never asked for any of this. Please talk to your wife so you can save your job, marriage, and all the unfortunate bystanders who are now involved. OOP, yes she has. My wife is very insecure about her looks and I find it very sad. I'm not saying this because I'm her husband, but she is very beautiful. Long dark hair, light brown eyes, perfect face. She really does get a lot of looks and double takes, but she experienced a lot of bullying as a kid. She had bushy brows growing up and was the only Italian girl in her middle school. She grew up thinking she was ugly for not being tall or blonde-haired and blue-eyed. She thinks that's secretly what I want, I guess, although I've never said anything to indicate that. Update first off, would like to thank everyone for their responses and for taking the time to give me advice. I did not expect the 300 or so comments I received, so please don't take it personally if I didn't reply to yours. I was very much overwhelmed by and grateful for the support. On to the update. Took the general advice and confronted Valerie and used therapy as a non-negotiable term. So Tuesday when I posted I saw Kate at work and bluntly said, "You don't need to report on me today or any day after this. I'll be talking to my wife after I'm done today." She got this blank look on her face and said she didn't know what I meant, but I noticed her hanging around significantly less than usual after that. I did my best to focus on my work, but I asked to go home early because it was just impossible with everything looming ahead for me to concentrate. I went home and texted my wife that I was home early and I needed to talk to her when she was done work, so to please come home right away. I got a bunch of "what's going on? What's wrong?" texts, but just kept telling her I'd talk to her at home. She got home and I got into it right away. Told her I knew about the text with Kate, about the spying, the harassment of Heather. She was mad at first and kept adamantly saying she did nothing wrong, and if I had nothing to hide, why did it matter? I told her to please not play me for a fool and outlined all the things her behavior meant, like lack of trust and sheer vindictiveness. I brought up the consequences like my damaged trust and drama in the workplace. I also brought up how my job could be at risk because of this. She made a point to say they couldn't fire me without also removing Heather, as she'd say she was being inappropriate towards a married man in the workplace and Kate would back her up. That brought us to a heated argument and it ended with her crying and me yelling. She started asking, "Who the fuck is Heather to you that you give so much of a shit anyway?" And derailed into this whole thing about me caring too much about someone I claimed meant nothing to me. I don't want to get into too much detail because this would be extremely long, but the conversation was a good 5-6 hours long. It ended with her agreeing to go to couples therapy and individual if the couples therapist so deemed it. She apologized to me a lot and admitted she had been acting out of jealousy and anger towards Heather. She asked if I wanted her to apologize to Heather in person, but I said no. I didn't want there to be more drama. I watched as she texted Kate and told her to stop, and that she was sorry for dragging her into it. She gave me the password to her phone for transparency, but I told her it was pointless, as if she really wanted to continue, she could just delete the text before I saw them or change the name or whatever. I told her I expected her to keep her word to stop, because if I got any indication that this was still going on after our talk, that I would separate from her and file for divorce. Yesterday morning things still seemed tense, but it was to be expected. She still kissed me before going to work and we had a normal text conversation on our commute. I get to work and Kate apologizes to me and I accept it, but tell her our work relationship from here on out is forever changed and there's no going back from it. I tell her that beyond work conversation, we have nothing else to talk about. She accepted it and went on to start the day. Lunch rolls in. I ask Brian if he'll let me buy him lunch and thank him for telling me. We go to have lunch and he asks me if I've heard Heather put in her request for a transfer. Apparently on Tuesday when I left early, Heather asked why I wasn't at my desk because she had brought over the week's project booklet and had seen me there earlier. Kate of all people told her I had gone home to deal with personal issues. When Heather asked if everything was all right, Kate told her that she hoped so because I don't want to see someone come between Valerie and World's Gone Mad's marriage. There must have been a bit more to the exchange because Heather went all the way up to our boss's boss and asked for a transfer to a different department. I feel extremely embarrassed because without a doubt I feel like that guy now in the office. I know Brian isn't a gossip, but of course people will ask why Heather transferred and, without a doubt, it will eventually get out. People who used to talk to me casually probably will stop. The women of the office will feel as if they need to keep their distance, and I feel so ashamed that I can't even approach Heather to apologize for the stress this must have caused her. I doubt she even would want to see my face at this point. So yes, wife has agreed to counseling both couples and individual, apologize to me, all those things. But the damage is now done, and I feel like complete shit about work now. I guess I shouldn't have been so naive to think that just fixing this with my wife would make everything else go away. Anyway, thank you all for the advice. I was feeling very at sea before writing that post. I still feel a bit lost as far as how to deal with the fallout of all of this. But at least I have one part of it sorted or on its way to being sorted out, so that's a positive. TLLD, TLD, TLD, TLLDer confronted my wife about the texts. She agreed to go to couples therapy and individual therapy and cut contact with the office spy. Unfortunately, Heather put in a request for a transfer, so it seems like while I may be able to salvage my personal relationship, my work relationship is now tarnished.